Hey Peter, thanks for sending over your resume. Just going to spend a couple minutes going through some of the key areas for improvement, and we'll try to provide some suggestions as well as some examples from other resumes that we've done and how we've changed them as well. So the first thing that comes to mind to me, um, that I think uh, for a lot of employers nowadays would probably pass on the resume is mainly due to the formatting itself. It needs to be in a single column with clear sections that helps to differentiate what the different areas of your resume are. So for example, this is your header section, then you've got your summary, your executive summary or career objectives section here. You go experience. I can see it, they're labeled, but because of how little time recruiters spend looking at resumes in general, they will have an issue with the current formatting as it stands. And I can see you've got, okay, so the date from when you started to when you left, as well as the role that you have, and then the company name. So there just needs to be some formatting changes on that front. Also, this block of text needs to be put into bullets, and just make sure that with each of the bullets that you have, there are benefit driven. So you show like what the benefits of the impact, rather impact driven. Each statement should show the impact that you delivered by doing that thing. For example, here it talks about what you did and the things you built, but it doesn't go into the impact it's had on the organization itself, which is a key component of the key goal of your resume, is to make sure that you're able to do that. I think this is great, where you talk about how many token comparisons were tested per press cycle. I think that's pretty cool. So that's an example of one, but you need to have more. It needs to be more number oriented, more impact driven, so to speak. And let me see as well. And then yeah, it's the same. It's like I think you could probably expand on this and to speak to the impact that building this caching system had on this organization. And so that's basically the same advice for most of the experience section. I'm just going through and checking. And yeah, there's also like different types of formatting used. So we have bullets used, and then here we do have some bullets used as well. And in some bullets, there's no spacing between them, and in others, there are spacing. Because most employers nowadays use highly advanced ATS systems, when your resume shows up, it won't render well. Yeah, it won't render well, and therefore the system struggles to pass the information out, or it will make your resume look clunky, and a recruiter may just pass on it for that particular reason from that firm. So the one thing that I think is to your advantage is that you've got fantastic experience. Like, I'm not an engineer, but I have worked on APIs a little bit, and if we were hiring at We Are Distributed, I can tell from looking at the experience that you would easily fit in with some of the stuff that we're building and or are set to build within the next year or so. So I also want to make sure that we do stay in touch just in case a role does come up on our side, because I think you could really help us with it. At the moment, really, we're using a lot of no-code tools, and there does have a lot of limitations with some of the stuff that we're using. So, but yeah, the same thing applies where you've got a lot of experience, but it's mainly a formatting issue that I see here, plus not enough information put to like the impact of work delivered. And of course, because you've got 20 plus years experience, I don't have an issue with the fact that your resume is long. Many recruiters, hiring managers may say the resume is too long. That as someone who has 15 years experience in marketing like myself, my resume is also roughly 4 or 5 pages too. So it's to be expected, and if anything, it will help, not hinder you, especially if everything is relevant. If there's things that's so old that I would no longer use those things, experience is no longer relevant for the role that you're applying to, then I would suggest revising them, and probably no needing to keep it on here, but like things from the early 2000s of just using technologies that are no longer in place, maybe that's something to keep on your LinkedIn profile rather than your resume. If you're finding that your long resume is becoming a challenge on that front. So there is that. And I like the fact that you have linked to your public facing projects, which is kind of cool. It just needs to be formatted in a particular way that makes it inviting people to check out. And this looks like, okay, so then we've got education here, certifications, and then your list of skills as well. So again, that flag should be a separate session. Okay, I'm gonna go through some recent resumes that we've redone, as well as show you an example of a resume that I've redone for two other people, as well as a an article that I've written about how I redid my own resume. And I'm just gonna see if I can find this. Let me see. Okay, so this is just an article where I'm explaining about how I went about doing my resume, and like looking at the before and after. So this is kind of what the header section could potentially look like. So I'm just going to move this closer to yours. So, okay, you've got your name, and then you need to have your title like almost underneath it. It needs to be the title that you hold today, or the title that you're trying to get to. In your case, because you've mentored people, you'd probably be looking for like director of engineering, VP of engineering, maybe engineering manager roles, director of engineering, like those types of positions. That's definitely something worth mentioning in your header section. And then you also want to make sure that you, rather than put in raw links in here, you should convert them into hyperlinks in your header. So it's fine for your email to be raw because that's kind of the expectation. But then instead of saying, pigfox.com, what you could instead do is say personal website and then just hyperlink it, LinkedIn, hyperlink it, GitHub, hyperlink it, Stack Overflow, Calendly, etc. And still have the links, but just not have them as raw URLs. So for example, I mean, I should also follow my own advice here because it's like in this case, it's like, this is my website, but I should probably just call it GorackScale or GorackScale.com, which is fine. And then LinkedIn, it should just be LinkedIn by itself without the that follows after it. So I can just click it and it's a lot easier that way. Let me see if I can, did we redo this header section? Let me just check. Yeah, so this is how I redid the header section. So this is what I had previously, and then this is what I had afterwards. So name, title of the role, then my email, then my LinkedIn, then my URL for my site. In your case, it would just basically be the same thing, but put your own sections in. And because you've got more links, it makes sense for them to be hyperlinked rather than the full URL. And then what you also need is like what I call like a little bit of a career snapshot. Well, how do I define this? Yeah, add a short snapshot of what type of product marketer you are. So in this case, it's like you need to sum up your experience as to who you are. So for example, with me, it would be like, I'm a 5 times B2B product marketing leader with a pension for general record pipeline and revenue growth Series A to D tech company. So this is almost like an elevator pitch for your career or for when you're applying for jobs. So anytime when someone wants to ask you about what kind of developer you are, you can easily tell them in like 15-20 seconds. And so you definitely need that. So it's almost like taking the summary section that you have and rewriting it into something a little more clearer. An example that we do have, so this is someone who we redid their resume for them. And as you can see here, this is their summary section, their elevator pitch. So they're a 4 times go-to-market operations specialist with a drive for achieving operational excellence through data process and automation. I think the only thing that I would probably do different is just to make sure that they some tangible impact, number-driven impact here, so that people could easily see what kind of impact they deliver. But then again, this is also why we go into the summary and career highlights, especially for people who have 10 plus years experience. I always recommend to pull out 3 really strong objectives that you have accomplished during your career, your favorite projects, and mention the impact that you've delivered. As you can see, this one speaks to revenue, and it speaks to impact that they've delivered for the organization, metrics improvements. It's all about trying to quantify everything that you've done. So that would be the goal there on the summary section. And then when it comes to, I mentioned as well some advice here for the summary section. If you want, I can send you a link to this. This page is actually just in staging at the moment, but it's fine. I don't mind sending it to you if you feel like this would be helpful. So this is how I would do my career highlights. So you can call it career highlights, or like I said before, you can call it summary and career summary. and then you speak to what you are, and then some of the big objectives that you've done and accomplished throughout your career. Um, and that's like the main sources of improvement for you. In terms of the US and EU citizen thing, I don't necessarily think you need to mention it because I guess okay, so the CA stand for Canada, and okay, EU and US citizen. I mean, the main reason why I don't think it would be necessary to mention it is because usually when you apply for a role, they will ask you on the application form, do you have the right to work or do you require visa sponsorship? Especially if it was for, some kind of in-person role. But because you are applying for remote roles only, you probably need to include that. So yeah, I would definitely suggest reworking your header section and make it more horizontal, and then make sure that your sections are split out a bit better. So you want the summary, experience, etc. to be bigger and to have like separators, if not horizontal lines like we've got on that front. Also, when it comes to the way that you're mentioning roles, it's important to mention that you should list out the role that you had, like the title itself, then you differentiate with the company, and then the year or the date as well. So it's all about basically trying to be as consistent as possible. And the more consistent you are with your resume in terms of its formatting, then the better your chances are on that front. I know I've been rambling, just trying to see if there's anything else that's relevant for you here. So this is an example of someone, another person who, similar to you, has like 20 plus years experience. And again, you can see how we've done the summary sectioning, impact that they've delivered, the 3 key career highlights, and then we also, what we've done, instead of writing like a list of skills, we actually created supporting statements for each of these skills. So it's true, this person has, financial planning and analysis, strategic finance, and accounting. They've got all these other different skills, but we just tried to quantify that and humanize their experience a bit more. And that's their one. And so whilst this person does have a roughly 10-15 year experience, yeah, it's just two pages and a bit on that. And then we also had another format for them, which is a little bit cleaner, where we have the summary and the professional experience, career highlights, and we've just done it in a slightly different way. And from what I've heard from them, this is actually more interviews for them. So that's definitely something that we do. But yeah, let me know if this has been helpful. Follow those steps and try to implement your resume similar to the designs that I've showed you here today. If you want us to do a resume for you, we can. You may know that we do have a resume writing service on that front. Or instead, if you prefer to do it yourself, that's also okay. And we'll try to support you on that. You need like any job specific advice or career advice or whatnot, then as you're probably aware, you can upgrade to our light membership. It's only $5 a month, and it just makes sure you get access to all the jobs that we have on our job board. And as you're a developer, it means that most of the jobs on our job board you would be a fantastic fit for. So I would highly recommend that you check it out. And yeah, let me know how things are going on that front, and I'll see what we can do. Yeah, if you need help in terms of anything even more than that, let's say into jobs specifically, finding the opportunities, reviewing your applications, then we do have the Job Search Accelerator program, which I mentioned before on the webinar, as well as in the community. So check out those things, just see what you think, and maybe that could help you out. But if not, it's all good. And I hope that this works out for you, because I think you've got great experience and I think you do a fantastic asset to any organization. Anyways, I hope that this helps, and get back in touch if you need any help. Speak to you soon. Take care. Bye.